Hey, Podcast America, welcome to episode 90 of the Enlightened Neanderthals, brought to you by my company, Training Northwest, which you can find at trainingnorthwestllc.com. As of yesterday, the reservation window for the Rifleman Camp has closed, so there are a few openings left, which you can now register for on the website under class schedule. Those won't last, I don't think, so grab them while you can. Other things we got coming up, I have a carbine class in June, and aside from the 3-day camps, that is the last public class I will be listing. I am going to a 100% private course format out there, so you can get a hold of me at trainingnorthwest@protonmail.com if you have a church group, family group, whatever group that you want to get together for a private instruction.
Tobin, I've been on the deep, dark recesses of Reddit, and I've been going through the Training Northwest Reddit subforum.
Oh, no.
And I was looking, and word has it is there might be a little more time put into the evening shoot. Is that correct?
Yeah. At the this year's camp, last year, the white light shoot, or I should say the low light shoot with white lights attached to your weapon.
Pretty amazing.
Was one of the more popular events.
Was.
We're going to lean into that and extend it by a little bit and do a little more with white lights on the first night that everybody's there. I'm also going to lean into the Saturday night campfire, and we're going to do a lot more discussion, kind of like this episode here, where we had a pretty honest talk. Our friend Christy Campbell back with us again, sans orange trash bag.
No magic show, though. Pretty pissed.
No bullshit the clown. No magic show. No orange trash bag. No. But we had an authentic and sober conversation about happiness and what it means to all of us.
Yeah, partly.
No,
I think this is what I wanted. This is good pod.
This made Mike happy.
Yeah, I brought notes and I left stimulated.
All right, you guys, enjoy the episode.
Tostino's Pizza Rolls was
absolute
staple.
That was too rich for my family.
Get out of here, because we ate them.
No, you
and I
ate
know
the chickens and the steers from the yard, which maybe my parents were just trying to avoid processed.
Oh, you mean to tell me you had land?
Yeah, that's true. This is true. We did have 10 acres of grass.
All right. Yeah.
And cattle and chickens. So maybe we were wealthy.
You go, yeah, but we didn't have a lawnmower, so we had to have goats.
Cattle.
Sold off an acre to get pizza rolls. Yeah. Times were tough back then.
Yeah.
But the thing is like, it's like there's two ways to do it, right? There's the barbaric way of microwaving these sons of bitches. Was that you?
Was there another way?
The oven's
the oven is the way.
Oh,
it's the only way.
It's the only way to get a third-degree burn when you bite into it. The microwave doesn't quite do it. The oven really
I do feel like all high school stoners know that.
Oh, yeah.
I probably forgot it because I was a high school stoner.
Yeah, there's a certain level of ovens being left on.
Yeah.
At 350 for, I don't know, 15 minutes.
Fire chiefs are getting on TV.
Yeah.
We got to stop these Tino sales.
You know what those
all these stoners are burning
pizzas
houses down.
Those cheap, like,
I remember the Red Baron they were like a 6-inch deep dish.
I'm the Tostino's pizza, like pizzas that were like
those
maybe 11
too.
But they're cardboard, dude.
Cardboard.
But I used to eat so many of those. No wonder I ended up having cancer.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. RFK was right. Yeah, you want to talk
about the Red Baron pizzas were shit. Do you remember those?
Yeah, I do.
Red Baron was good.
Those were fun.
Well, because they sold those at school too.
A Tombstone Supreme.
Yeah, Tombstone Supreme those were legit. That was me. I'm out. There we go.
Which cable? We have our guest, and we can't get the fucking earbuds or whatever these things are called to work.
It's okay.
Oh, now I hear it.
Oh, yeah, there it is. And this is Christy Campbell.
Christy Campbell, welcome to your own kitchen.
Thanks. Excited to be here.
How did you do with the Red Baron pizzas, Tostino's pizza rolls?
Hang on.
Lunchables.
High school stoner opinions.
Okay.
Were you a Red Baron?
Were you a
frozen
high school
pizza
stoner,
person?
first of all?
Were you a high school stoner? First question, yeah.
Oh, wow.
See, I already knew this,
okay,
which is why I was able to jump straight to, are you a Red Baron or a Tostino's?
Well, I don't think the crowd knew. And
which, but actually, it doesn't really matter which one you were. It matters which one your mom was, because she's the one choosing Red Baron or Tostino's.
Yeah, this is true. You didn't get a choice in my house.
See, we were like a Burger King drive-through onion ring slushy kind of stoner.
Okay, so yeah,
get behind
out and
that.
about.
Yep,
You
out
guys
and
were
about.
busy.
Soccer tennis was our stoner game of choice.
Soccer tennis.
Soccer tennis, yeah. So it was like
Tennis
ball.
court with a soccer ball.
what?
Soccer ball, tennis
Soccer
court.
ball, tennis court. You figure out the rest. Yeah.
Bag of weed.
Yeah.
Swisher sweets and like
Oh,
turn them into.
Shit. Yeah,
I
highbrow.
Yeah.
Highbrow.
No, we used the Swisher sweets to make like we cut them open and then
blown.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Did you have one black
Make a-
friend over there?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, weren't you
It's like, I got you.
Northeastern?
Yeah, Maryland. but-
Oh, that exactly.
okay.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, son of a bitch. That was not us at all.
Yeah, so we'd get onion rings and red slushies from Burger King.
That's wild.
You're just wrestling other men and eating cardboard pizza. Jordan?
Yeah, exactly.
That was your
exactly.
childhood.
There was no smoking of the marijuana. Tried a couple times out of a pipe.
Didn't work.
Didn't. Well, it worked. It worked.
Did you do it in the woods?
I remember the first time. Yeah, it was
In the woods. Always in the
at
woods.
the 420 bench.
What?
Like we had a 420 bench. Burnt down when my uncle was at North Shore Junior High, and burnt down when I was at North Shore Junior High. Singed the trees, like very much almost caught the woods on fire.
That's impressive in Western Washington.
It was
At that time too.
Yeah. Firefighters were called. It was a big deal. But then they put a
I say this as we're sitting here less than a year from nearly burning my house down.
in Western Washington.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But those damn trees.
Yeah.
What were they called? It's
I
like a
can't
spruce
remember.
or whatever the hell.
Spruce cypress.
They're just stupid
something.
trees. Yeah, they're just made to.
Yeah,
Yes,
tender.
they were stupid.
Little tender
Who would put
box.
a tree right there?
Who would put a tree that's full of
Dead
pine
Dead
needles
tinder.
all the way
Yeah.
up? It's just like a secret fire starter.
It was. That was close to. Like, look at that. Oh, there's sparks in that tree. Oh no.
It is wild. Like, think of just going to Eastern Washington or somewhere like that. But say it did get like 5 degrees hotter on average over here. We saw those Palisades fires, and they get those winds every year, the Santa Anas. And could you imagine just dry, like those trees are everywhere, but you get 40, 50, 60, 70 mile per hour wind.
No,
and
people are more
blown.
intentional about their landscaping over on the east side. Like where I grew up in Omak, it's known that you have to cut the trees back from your house and you have to create fire breaks around your property and keep. One of the reasons people keep their fields irrigated is literally to
Keep wet.
Stop
yeah,
fire.
exactly, keep a
Yeah.
fire barrier around themselves.
But even it's hard in the middle of August over here, over there in Eastern Washington. You see how quick it rips. That would be the scare. Like that was our area here west of the mountains on the 4th of July. That's not even the hottest part of the year yet. And that tree went up. Say you had 60 mile per hour winds during our 4th of July. That's going all the way up.
Yeah.
I'd have been popular in the neighborhood.
There was some magnesium involved in that fire. Yeah, there was some hot heat.
Some stimulant for them.
Yeah, that
Failed.
bottle rocket really showed its true colors over there.
Man. It looks like the crater's finally gone from the yard
From
I think they're just under the snow at the
under
moment.
the snow.
Yeah. So it looks like everything's covered up. There's still a few little bare patch divots where Jordan tossed out those whatever those fucking things were.
Bombs.
yeah, those are good.
Those were good.
Look like a little toilet paper roll. That looked
was
like
awesome.
a Japanese end of a toilet paper roll.
Yeah, that was. I was very excited, and then I was like, probably shouldn't be lighting these from the hand.
Yeah, no shit. Oh man. All right, so Mike, what do we came in here today. You had a pretty good idea on. Did you bring notes?
Yeah.
He did.
You want to talk
Oh, I love
about?
it.
Oh, I thought
It's
that was
my Dream Boy journal.
I thought that was Georgia's.
We probably write about the same thing. No,
Fairy dust.
I said I wanted to do the podcast on happiness because I think I have my own take on what it is.
Yeah.
But I wanted to do it because I heard your last podcast with Greg and I thought it was really good. I thought it was really well done, and honesty and being truthful and like acceptance is a very hard thing to work through your life, to not only be better at it, but to just naturally be open. It usually creates less barriers. And to me, that's an example of happiness. If you're constantly lying, it's going to set you up for a life that you have to weasel through, and you can't be, authentically, like, not have your guard up. You can be you and indulge in yourself, right? So to me, that's just one tenet of happiness. So I thought it would be interesting because I try and rule my life by happiness. I try and be like Georgia, that little fairy. That's my goal, is to constantly float through life in an ecstatic state. But that takes work in thinking about. So I wanted to do kind of a happiness podcast, and I do have notes, but it's like, I think it's just about opening the floor first. Right? Okay. So what everyone's definition is, and you guys are going to fucking hate me because this is such my definition.
Is it going to be ruling the world under your authoritarian governance?
This isn't like, all right, so
how's it going to get weaved into this?
Yeah.
No, there's no Mike Zedong in this.
All right, so do you want to start it, or do you want us to go around
unless
the horn?
you guys have rebuttals, replies, or
I just have a yes and.
Okay. Put your journal away.
Next question. My ideas of what happiness are have very much changed in the last 2 years, with going through like serious depression and then going to these plant medicine ceremonies and recovering, or not recovering, whatever you come to on the backside of post-traumatic stress. And I don't even know that up until 2 years I could have told you what happiness means to me. And I'm still right now working on defining it.
Well, you bring,
But I've been living it. I've mentioned on this podcast to you guys a couple of times, I haven't been at work since October 15th. And it's been the most amazing fucking 3.5 months of my life to like slow down, live slow life, not try to do all the things, try to do fewer things. And I think what it has led to is kind of being present in the moment.
Yeah. Well, and I wanted to do this happiness too, because not only I heard your podcast, but there are a lot of people in my group that are going through life-changing moments. And that is life. Life is ever-changing, and it's constantly presenting new obstacles. But once you realize or have these obstacles, what is your mitigation? What brings you happiness through these problems? We all know people that have problems, and it sets them off a bad path, and they do meth, and now they're a hooker on 99.
Yeah.
Love you, Uncle Steve. But, but some people have problems, and it's like they go through it, and they recover, and they excel. They move beyond and past. And so I wanted to talk about this because I think you guys all have a lot of wisdom, and I think it's interesting seeing people go through journeys and what they consider what is bringing fulfillment, enjoyment, and what tools as well are used to analyze that fulfillment or to do the things that bring it, like the emotional or the intellectual reflection. I think. All right.
I was just going to say, hang on. Okay, to answer one of those questions, I think that the word truth and authenticity and figuring out who you are without letting anybody else, or really what you think other people will think, interfere in that. That's the tough part, because I really think the biggest thing, the thing that we are all most afraid of deep down, is shame. And we are afraid of being ashamed of ourselves if we let all of that truth out. And that's what keeps us from being completely 100% authentic to ourselves. And so finding identifying what is you and what is not you within your sort of your behaviors and your habits, and getting rid of the behaviors and habits that are not authentically you, and then starting to live as yourself, and ask yourself, what makes you happy? And how many of your habits or hobbies or whatever do you do so that other people will accept you, and I don't even mean that in their mind they accept you. In your mind, are they accepting you? Because it's all shit that we build up in our own sort of version of reality.
I drive a Porsche, therefore these people think I'm sophisticated
or successful. When in reality, nobody else gives a fuck that you drive a Porsche. So if you're not driving it if you're a car enthusiast and you like it, Mike just got attacked by the most vicious kitten on planet Earth. If you are driving a Porsche because you're a car dork and you love the feel of the accelerator and the handling, and fucking drive on with your bad self. Yeah, drive the shit out of that thing. But if you're driving it because you think girls will like you or because other men will respect you, then that Porsche will always leave you feeling empty.
I did. Quick story. When I was like 25, maybe 26, like I worked in the car market, and I always loved Subaru.
Does this mean you were stealing stereos? Or is that what you're trying to say?
No. Like I finally got my dream car. I wanted a all-wheel drive turbocharged car. I thought they were the coolest thing, especially in this area.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. And so I not only got one that was like stock, it was already invested like 20 grand into the car.
Oh, yeah.
And then I bought it.
Crashed
I put 20 grand into it.
Wrapped it around the tree.
And I got it, and it was a performance dyno. I was Vin Diesel. Mm-hmm. You know, I lived my life a quarter mile at a time, brother.
Yeah,
dude, old guys going through, like, the guy would pull up next to me in the Porsche that was going through the midlife crisis, and I would smoke him. It was such a fucking out of control car, and I'm like, women are gonna love this.
Yeah.
This is gonna these seats. I should put a bag over them because
they're gonna get drenched.
The only thing I would drive it and I would get people cheering and clapping. It was always a 13 or 14-year-old boy, dude. That's nice car, buddy. Yeah. And it's like, it don't matter.
Did you get a sticker in the back window that said Northwest?
Yeah.
I know a guy who can hook you up. If
Not all who wander a lot.
Yeah.
All right. So side story over. What is happiness? So I have a definition. Does anyone else have a definition? Jordan?
I mean, I don't have a definition.
You're just
Well, I think to what you guys were saying, and finding your truth and finding like the ability to live authentically is probably one of the most important aspects to being able to truly be happy. Because if you're not able to express outwardly what you feel inwardly, like you're never going to be happy.
Yeah.
But the thing is like at the same time, if you're somebody who doesn't need other people, then maybe you don't need to be outwardly expressive of who you truly are. But that to me is not happiness at all. Like
people. That is an inherent part and reward system.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're told. Right? Everybody, like humans want other humans around them.
Reproduction.
So there's reproduction, there's
and
just family, there's
trait.
people around you, right? So at some point you have to be like, okay, well, that is why everybody has this wall and they put up these walls because they want to be accepted, because it is so important to have people around you that you care about and care about you. So to that, point is, I think, why it's so easily, we go from maybe a Georgia to closed off and a little bit like, well, I don't really care about anything and I'm, too cool for school kind of thing. And it's like at some point, like you being just who you are isn't socially acceptable because somebody, in the, I don't know, Miss Helen's class says you're stupid because you can't spell girl correctly. Right. I don't know what happened there, but that's the kind of thing that like closes people off, right? That when some small traumatic things add up and you just can't continue to be who you want to be. So as that all is coming, you're trying to like slowly fit into the mold that you think other people want you to be in. And that's where you kind of lose yourself. And I think that happens at a young age. But what makes the happiness and what like allows you to be happy, I think, is family. I think is having people who will accept you and who you are, like, without question, so you can relax around them and be who you are, right?
Yeah.
I think
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think what both of you are saying about when you are living authentically or when you know who you are and you can express that through like a professional thing or even with your family, I feel like that's like how it's almost like a secondary. Because I think of like, what is happiness? I actually asked Tyler this like almost 18 months ago, like that exact question, which is funny. And I remember thinking it was a sense of like presence. Like I don't need to be anywhere else but here kind of feeling.
100%.
So then I would take that one step further as to when you have that with yourself, when you are at home with yourself and there's nowhere else that you need to be except with yourself, that's the root of the happiness.
Well, that's who you are.
Right, because
and
you're at
being
home.
okay with yourself.
Yeah, you're at home with yourself. There's nothing else that needs to happen this second with yourself. Like you are just here. And so then everything else can become like an expression of that. Whether it's like I'm at home here and I can share that with you as like somebody that I care about or that you're my family, or I want to like take that comfort level with myself and express it through something that I want to do. Or it's like, hey, everything around me is actually kind of shit right now, but I'm still like at home with myself. So then you still have something to return to that feels like happiness. And I think that that's probably the purest, because even when you have people that you love, they may come and go. Like even if they just pass away, like in lifetime, you know, then if that was the only tie to it, then the happiness would be gone. There'd be nothing left for happiness. So it has to be one place before that, which is like at source. But I do think exactly what you're saying, Jordan, we get lost in it. We're actually born with maybe being at home with ourselves.
I think so.
And then we
lose it.
We lose it because we're told, because we forget,
Because we're trying to
humans.
gain affirmations. Yeah, as we're growing up, we're trying to make our parents happy, and then we're trying to make our teachers happy, and then our peers, and then trying to have a girlfriend or a boyfriend. And before, you know what I mean? By the time you're 30 years old, you realize you've been trying to make everyone else around you. That's what your shell is it's this version of yourself that you think other people will like. And that's what Christy has said. You're trying to create programs that are attractive to someone else's programs. So then your programs like each other, but it's all fucking fake. It's all a shell. And so all these relationships, I think this is why so many marriages fail right now, is because it's two programs that liked each other's programs, two shells that liked each other, but it wasn't authentic connection. So then when you get a little breath of authenticity, you go, "Whoa, what the fuck was that?" Because you weren't actually meant for each other, if that makes sense.
And it's just like it's hard because we end up seeking happiness. Like we're aware when it's not there. So then we seek it. And so what happens is, because we're like social people, is we look at examples of what appears to be happiness.
Yeah.
So it's like,
enter social programming.
Right. Oh, that body creates happiness. Like I either want to look like that body or I want to be with that body.
Think of like the pharmaceutical commercials on TV where it's like a grandpa like running through like a sunny meadow with his grandson, and it's like something you can't pronounce. Ask your doctor about it.
Mm-hmm. Side effects.
Yeah, exactly. Side effects may include death
Leaky
and
butthole.
anal leakage. Yeah. Exactly. But they're selling you that happiness is something you can attain someday. Well, the reality is
you can attain on the other side of a paywall.
Happiness is not a future idea, and we've talked about time. And when is the future going to be here? Now?
Never.
How about now? How about now? When will the future arrive? So if happiness is something that exists in our future tense, when will it arrive? So we've been taught, one last sentence to finish it off, is that we've been taught that happiness is a future tense, not a present tense.
Or that once you get whatever, this wife, these kids, this job, this money, this whatever, then I'll be happy. Then the funny, hard thing is then you get those things and you're like, what's wrong? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I should be happy. And I feel like that's kind of also this turmoil when you have all of the things that should check the boxes of the present is here, but I'm still not happy. And so
that's where fear starts, right? Like then you're looking around going like, what I thought was everything is nothing.
And so usually just hop to the next thing. instead of actually getting at peace with yourself, it's like, okay, well, something else is going to make me happy. Yeah. Something else will make me happy. And you just keep searching.
That next car, that 6-pack abs, that next promotion. So it's always a future tense. It's always something to attain down the road.
Yeah. Well, you guys are close, so I'll go ahead and explain to you what happiness is. All right.
Oh my God.
What is happiness? I think happiness is when you positively stimulate both biological and evolutionary reward systems.
Are you talking about a boner?
Yeah. Okay. And that's an evolutionary.
That's what I heard out
right?
of that. Yeah.
And that is behind a paywall.
Dirty Mike and the boys.
But I'll say that. I'll break it down because the difference is biological and evolutionarily. Like, evolutionarily, everything that exists that is organic and alive, not like an animal kingdom, right? Not a plant or a fungus, but like an animal,
But don't you think a plant is happy when it
Yeah, it wants to spread its seeds.
Yeah.
So then even we'll say a plant. It wants to reproduce.
Hang on. We're gonna pause it.
They did leave it there, but she
knocked like a fucking bitch.
Like a cop.
She knew Enlightened Neanderthals podcast was in progress in this kitchen right now.
Okay, so I'll break it down to you.
Yep, break it down.
When you positively,
look, all the animals are disturbed now. Look, we got dogs, cats running around.
Everybody's here.
Everybody's nervous system got disrupted.
Yep.
Rocky, go lay down.
but what it is, it's the
Entropy.
reward system. Entropy.
Yeah, that's right.
But the evolutionary, like when you're stimulating your evolutionary reward system, you're doing things that thrive towards your survival and your species survival. So having children. So those are inherent things. Fucking, food, fitness, mental stimulation, and development. And I say mental stimulation and development because that is a trait that's uniquely characteristic to us, right? What makes us different, more like compared to anything on the planet, is our ability to exchange and understand abstract ideas and thoughts, right? There is nothing else in this planet. I mean, you can say like, well, dolphins and maybe whales or wolf packs or, but it doesn't.
They say crows and ravens are conscious.
Right? But they're not.
I think trees are. Like
I do. I'm starting to
Yeah,
think
but
so
where's
too.
their ability to manipulate matter to do the things that we do?
They say that trees can when
it's
they're getting
underground.
when they're getting eaten.
It's yeah.
But
They're pushing my retaining wall out right now.
But not
Yeah.
a lot of trees
And they're like,
are going to space.
So are you saying like that, like pure happiness? Because I think like
Hang on,
to
are
an
humans going to
animal-
space? Because I've been watching these moon landing videos, and I got to tell you, special effects in 1967 were pretty shitty.
Yeah.
My question is like, are you so for example, if you had a dog, right?
Yeah.
And the dog is not happy, and then you
Right.
look at the dog and you're like, that's a happy dog. The dog went for a walk today. It ate some food. It's sleeping. It's got all the things that a dog needs, and you can look at it and tell it's a happy dog.
He is happy because he is hitting his evolutionary reward systems. As a dog doing that by walking, exercising, getting food, companionship, shit like that, he's completely content and happy. When that dog is not happy is when he is not getting those things.
left at
now,
home alone.
you do that with a human. You give them food, you exercise them, and you say you just give them baseline
Some
functions.
companionship, and they're happy.
But say you don't even give companionship.
Oh.
Like a dog can have a person, but like a person, if you can, like in a prison, you don't give them people, they start going nuts, right?
Or some of them go internal and they discover fucking Buddha or God or whatever.
But that's rare to have that person become enlightened like that. I think what the difference is that people, when we talk happiness, we have the upper hand of understanding truly what happiness is because we can exchange abstract
What
ideas.
is happiness?
Yes, but where a dog doesn't have that communication conversation, the ability to say, I will meet you tomorrow 5 minutes before the sun goes down.
Hi.
You stand on that
Hi.
hillside.
Hi.
right? Yes, yes, right? So that ability, what makes us unique is to have that ability to exchange unique and abstract ideas. And that is a biological trait that is inherent to humans because it's tied so closely with where we came from. We came from tribal beings. Not only do we want to have our offspring, we care about having grandma and grandpa and uncles and having community and growth, right? And that a lot of that happens through these abstract ideas, the ability to plan for winter, to get crops, to supply water, to get enough meat, to figure out how to preserve, right? So I say all of this because there's two different things that I think correlate to happiness. And what they are is when you hit your evolutionary
Pinnacle.
No,
Or like
your
end state?
reward systems, your evolutionary reward systems. It feels good to have children. It feels good to have love. It feels good to have good food in abundance because it feels like there's safety. It feels good to have warmth. But then there's things that are like inherent to people. I need more mental stimulation. I need to know what is over that next hill.
Do we need more mental stimulation or do we need less?
No,
Well,
I think we
compared
need
to-
more in the sense of like
for the proper ways.
like not an iPad,
Yeah.
right?
I
But like
think a little-
communication.
much
No, but
slower
figuring out the
stimulation.
iPad
But-
is wonderful, but also figuring out what breath work is.
Two people
and
connecting.
Things like calming your mind. To be smart enough to understand there's ways to do breathing and physical interaction and even chanting. And you can do things like calm your mind. You can free write and express yourself. There are ways to take a wild mind and harness it. But part of what that is too is figuring out what your evolutionary system is too. What are you doing? Maybe your mind's a wild motherfucker, but it's like, I'm eating nothing but junk food. I'm cheating on my wife. I'm going through, right? You're hitting
Right.
reward
So
systems
you're-
that
well-
do feel good by fucking and doing those things.
But you're living in a way that's not authentic to.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
But also you can, it depends because like if you take Georgia, my daughter, for example, who's 5, like all of those out of the box things are going to naturally feel really good, right? When she's warm, she's snuggly and warm,
Yeah.
right? When she's full, she's like, oh my God, that was the best food I ever had every time, right?
Yeah.
And love feels like that. And it's because that's where she's at right now. And like Jordan was saying, when we lose sight of ourselves, we lose that anchor to who we are and we're not at home in ourselves. I don't think that any of those biological things hit the same because what I'm experiencing right now is almost a renewal of those things. I'm like, oh my God, this is what a hug is. Like, this is what food tastes like. Like, this is what hugging my children feels
because
like.
of Georgia.
No, just because of where I'm at with myself.
Yeah, but
So-
if
I'm
if
saying
you didn't have any of that and you hugged your daughter,
it does not feel the same.
It
I'm
doesn't
saying,
feel better.
I'm saying
It can
I
feel
birthed.
muted.
I'm saying
Yeah.
like 4 years ago, after I did one of those biological things, I had a baby and I'm holding my baby. I of course loved her and that felt good. It's not even close to what I'm experiencing now because I am more open to receiving what's happening around me. So whether it's love,
Baby's evolutionary, right?
Yeah.
Baby is natural. You don't have to do anything. Learning how to calm your mind and have presence in the moment, doing exercises, that is a unique biological trait that humans have, right?
Yeah.
So those things. So this is perfect. I'm going to give you a little rebuttal because
You
with
get a merit
children-
badge.
Yeah, you get a merit badge? You learn
you
sewing.
had a baby. Check.
So I'll
You're,
say,
Mike, you get a Mike Zedong Youth Corps merit badge.
you've almost been indoctrinated.
I guess what I'm saying is that I spend a lot of time as a health and nutrition coach teaching people that some of the things that might be missing from their satisfaction with themselves or their body would be solved by exercise, would be solved by eating better. And I think
part.
that is partially
Yeah,
true.
it's a
like,
part.
It will help, but
Yeah.
it will not
Doesn't
fix
fix.
the root problem.
Yeah,
No.
it's a complex system, not a simple system. And so, yes, you can fix one system at a time, but if a bunch of them are broken, then the fixed ones are going to feel the effect and vice versa.
well,
So
yeah, there's no one fix to all of it. It's a holistic thing that you need to be hitting all these different things, like what Mike's saying, because how many miserable fucking parents do you see out there?
Or a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many
A
guys
giant
that are jacked?
bodybuilder
How
has
many people
demons to
with
look
all
like
the
that.
money in the world kill themselves? Like,
Yeah.
there's never one solution to it all, right? And there's many things that you have to be trying to like strive.
The gays seem pretty happy with butt stuff.
only the men though.
Yeah,
guess-
that's what I mean. Butt stuff. They seem pretty
we did a whole
happy.
episode on that.
I think though what I'm hearing in yours, which does ring true, is that those are more primal things. These human biological things that we do, plus the interaction. And so once you, I think
We're unique.
right? I
So
think
we get to have the happiness conversation more broader or grander than anything else on the planet, I think.
what I'm saying is that in context of your definition of happiness, life feels like a more of a commitment to simplicity now than it ever has.
Yeah,
And so it's like, do I need all that stuff? Nope, I actually don't. And that feels like a relief.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so then it is more simple. It's like, oh, this is what just hanging out with friends feels
Around a
like when you're
fire.
happy.
Yeah.
Around a fire. Or this is what hanging with the kids feels like. Or, you know, any of these things that we're like seeking.
Yeah.
And even like financial stuff is like, well, you can seek that as a part of happiness, but it's
not real.
It's not real.
No.
Yeah.
But I guess what I'm saying is that like at the expense of the simplicity, I would not seek something that takes away from it now.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would steal from what I've
True
already-
happiness.
Right.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually just all I need
Yeah.
is a forest walk, like for today. Like that's good.
Yeah.
But
Breathing
I will
slowly.
go back to once again that humans are unique. Life is not constantly perfect or a plane. Life is peaks and valleys of I'm in a good path and then I get in a bad path. Life is about, I think, to hit these evolutionary reward systems. Like when you're in good grooves, you're in a loop, right? You're in a continual loop of doing good things, having good communication with your partner, doing good things for your body, taking analysis of your life, make sure you're achieving goals and striving for other ones. What is fulfillment? You know, when you're hitting these things,
When your
in
needs are met.
Yeah, you're
Right.
in, and that makes us more unique because even when we're in good places, we will sink out and start picking up because our mind, that ability to have abstract ideas and to tell you to meet me tomorrow before sunrise at a particular location. For us to do that, there's a lot of what ifs, right?
Yeah.
And those what ifs, that with great power comes great consequences or great, what is it?
Responsibility.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
Right? So having that ability, that's what becomes neuroticism. That's where your mind begins to whittle away. That's where your mind begins to have things such as fear. You put in your head what ifs. How many times have you done something in your life and it's been like you're so anxious and you do it and you're like, oh, wasn't that fucking bad? Because mentally, that ability that allows you to think abstractly, you put abstractness in your life. And you put it in not only your thought process, but you put it in your daily routines. Because we are wild creatures. We do random things occasionally. And so knowing that we're that way, I think it gives us the ability to reflect on how volatile we can be and how much alignment is appropriate for us. Dude, you almost got that thing.
Jesus. Got attacked by a cat.
I think to what you're saying is absolutely true, but I also like when you look at like you were saying, a wolf pack, right, doing whatever they do. I think consistently over the course of their life, because they don't have to, necessarily deal with all the other minutia that is life. Like,
Yeah.
they're just living.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a certain level of happiness that we don't quite understand. We're highs and lows, and there might be a little bit more consistent.
Yeah.
Right. So we can get to this, rise to this point, right? But it takes a lot of work, and we're gonna fall down, and we're gonna have to climb back up and just work through all the shit.
Because no one's life is just going up. Everyone's life is this. Even when you're doing good, you fall down. That is how life just works. And becoming aware
Accepting
of these,
it.
Yeah, and
is
becoming
important.
aware and being able to reflect that these things happen, it gives you the tools to start to understand. That's what anything in life is that you get over, is saying like, this is what it is. Understanding who you are, what these situations are, why you're reacting to them certain ways, how you're reacting. Is this a good way of dealing or a bad way?
Well, and recognizing when you are low and what you need to do to change that, and that you're stuck in this rut or like living this life that is less than could it be.
Acknowledging the rut while you're in it is extremely difficult.
Yes, but that's the key.
That's good. That's
right?
life.
That's-
That's that reflection.
And then you find you unlock this whole different world.
Yeah.
And then you can start living towards that goal or that happiness.
But or you
sometimes-
don't.
You don't have
Or
to,
you
but you don't have
don't.
to chase it. It's there. Right? Like, there are people in trailer parks all over this fucking country happy as shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And there are people in the White House that are miserable as fuck.
Yeah.
So understanding like it's not money, it's not like the latest technology, you know, it's not you can be happy in prison. And there's books about people who find happiness in prison from what the life they were living.
Could a Buddhist truly be happy in a concentration camp?
I think they would have to know what it's like to not be in a concentration camp.
Yeah, right. But
But
that's
I
what I
mean-
mean. Can you have someone truly be happy in a concentration camp? Happiness is a little bit about environment and situation.
100%.
I think you're
is
just talking
life.
about a happy story as opposed to actually happiness. Like, we all want these happy stories, right? Where we're able to express
soup.
You
ourselves.
can have a
and-
good life and stuff, but your current situation, like if that's just where
does-
you
it doesn't
live,
matter.
it
But it-
does rob you of that will, that spirit. That is
doesn't
what
matter.
I'd agree.
crushing.
I would agree with that. I would agree. You can't. You can find moments of like happiness, but you'll always know what freedom feels like until you don't have it anymore.
Yeah, I
Or
think
you'll
that's a
find,
good point.
or until you find out what freedom is, you won't know, and that's that rut that's hard to understand.
Yep.
Right. If a baby is born in a prison system, they don't know the difference. Like,
Yeah.
they could live in that forever and never understand what it's like. Right.
We're very malleable.
And then you find out like, oh, there's this whole thing, and sometimes that's
Programmable.
I guess I heard this from like a Eckhart Tolle book, right? And
Yep.
I really like that book. I listened to it a lot, especially when things were pretty dark. That book helped me.
What's it called?
The Power of Now.
okay.
And I really liked it. But one of the things he said was just like, if you're stuck in the mud up to your shoulders, right? Like, that's not you, but that's your life situation.
You're just taking a
So-
mud bath. Perspective.
So there's a difference between being like, it's cool, I'm just going to stay here in this mud, I'm detached, I don't care, versus saying like, this is my life situation and it's not me. Like, you could still find, quote, happiness even stuck into the mud up to your shoulders, but then you have to actually do something to get out. So I've always just thought of that. Like, is this a life situation or is this
yeah.
me?
Well, I'll take that one step further. Say there's two people in that concentration camp. One person has had a robust life. They've found love. They've had children. They've gained money. They've lost money. They've pursued educations and hobbies. And the other person,
Was just a Jew.
Good night, everybody.
well done, nicely done. That was a good one.
Thank you.
That was good. But the other person barely amounted shit to their life.
Didn't have a happy story.
They didn't put effort. Both of those people are gonna die, and the one that lived a more rewarding life to both all of those functions, whether it's biological or evolutionarily, like the more fulfilled you are in having robustness in doing, right? That is what gives you that moment to reflect that, ooh, that was happiness. All those things I've done in my past gives me this anchor right now as I'm walking into that gas chamber to have a moment for myself. Where the guy that has done nothing or put nothing into life does not have that anchor point to pull himself into a good spot. In
Well,
his
but-
head, he's probably like, this is how it goes.
Yeah. But at the same time, that's that wolf that isn't doesn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we have society that has done this crazy loop, which added all the programming, right? It's society that did it.
Yeah.
It's nothing more than that. Removing yourself from it, I would imagine people would be a lot more fucking happy in a village in Africa
100%.
than we are here.
And I wonder how much of, like, when you read about ancient cultures, it seems like they were a little more in tune with chasing authenticity rather than we've become a culture for profit, where a few take advantage of the many through social programming to keep them just sort of working in an industrialized system.
But you always think about, like, like they would celebrate the hunters when they came back, right? And like, so it was looked at as a status, right? So when you add status to things, you add a level of, like, that is
Appreciation.
Well, appreciation, but also, like, that's to be admired. Now, if I am not that, or don't have those skills, or can't figure out how to make that happen, now I'm less than. Unless you can have a culture that allows you to turn around and be like, oh, it is just as important to gather. It is just as important to love. It's just as important to weave a fucking basket. And when you start having a group of people that you can spend time with that appreciate all of those things, and, like, how we all interact and behave, then you can have happiness in a group setting. Obviously, what you're saying, as far as finding it in yourself, that authenticity or authentic self, and finding authenticity in yourself, that allows you to go, hey, good for you. You're a fucking warrior, but I'm not.
Right.
And I'm better at doing this over here, and I enjoy doing this, and I will contribute to the group, and I will sacrifice my authenticity to make this function better, but not lose yourself in that. And that's where we're finding ourselves in society right now, is like, people are willing to sacrifice their authenticity to make the group work better, until you say, fuck it, I'm going to withdraw into myself and put time into myself. You'll never be able to do that. And that's what sounds like both of you guys have been doing in the last few years.
I want to add one more thing, because this is, like, key. And I know you guys talked about this before, but part of the human condition, which is what you're saying, humans are unique, but part of the human condition is this awareness of time. So I don't think animals have this awareness of, like, time's ticking, like, I got to hurry up and do something before I kick the bucket, you know? No. Humans, on the other hand, resist time. And so they find a lot of discontentment and unhappiness in the progression of a lifetime. Like, for example, a woman is like, I am not happy as my body ages, right? I'm not happy in my body anymore. I liked it back when I was 21. Like, I don't like this 30-year-old, 40-year-old, 50-year-old, 60, 70-year-old body. We fight time. Mm-hmm. And so we find discontentment in this pushback.
The passage. The thing we cannot stop.
Or children, for example. Like, I have children, so you fixate on, like, I don't want them to get older. Oh, my God, they're like little babies. And then all of a sudden they're toddlers. And then they're growing. And then they grow. And you're unhappy about the progression of time, as opposed to flowing with it and, like, this contentment of acceptance of who you are, but also that we are in this one lifetime, and you should flow with the time rather than fight it every step of the way.
Accept the place that you're in right now,
right?
Rather than
presence,
right. And I have been going through this big time with jiu-jitsu, because I want to be the 27-year-old super athlete I was when I was 27, but I'm fucking 44. And so every time I go hard for a night, I get injured, and then I have to sit out for a few weeks. And it's been like this long, slow, painful realization that that's not where I'm at right now. I have to be slower and more gentle, because I'm a 44-year-old.
Well, it's not where you're at right now. It's where you'll never be at again.
Yeah.
And accepting that fact.
But also, well, no.
It's
about being happy about being
where you are,
where I am.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not looking in the rearview mirror and trying to hang on to what I used to be.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. I guess that's what I meant by that, is like, you'll never be that 27-year-old again, but you'll have 27-year-olds that you can guide in that position.
But also, yes. And so understanding that at 44, I can contribute a lot to both the kids and the young men and women at the gym because I was once there. I'm still strong enough and capable enough to give them like, I know where they are trying to get to. They're like these young wild boys who are, they need something to push against. And so giving them that thing to run up against and sort of challenge their own, like, where are they at right now? Because they're trying to progress. And now here it is. Okay, here's a challenge for you. I'll meet you right here. And I'll hold that line and give you something to push against. And that's incredibly valuable to the community. But then, so just the recognition that, yes, I'm not what I used to be. I'm not what I want to be, but I still have this valuable contribution to make to the community.
Yeah. 100%. It's a shift in perspective of like what your role is.
You're now a senior.
Well, you're
too
a senior,
fucking bad.
But what does that look like? Because I've never looked at like an older person and been like, fuck, like what a piece of shit, right? Yeah. I've always like admired older people, right? My friend group has always been 10 years to 5, 10, fucking 30 years older than me. The people I spend time with, because there's something about that like some siblings just loving each other. So I've always like, I've never looked at older people as like, oh, they can't do. It's like, look at all they're giving. Like, look at what I'm gaining from this. And I've never, I guess, looked at it as a competition. But now, as I'm getting older, my needs.
But society tells you exactly the opposite, which is that we idolize the young, that you're supposed to look a certain way forever, that you're supposed to be able to do certain things forever, that if you're at peak shape.
Fuck them.
But it's also not even Instagram, it's business stuff too. Like, if you look at anybody who's posted anything about business, they're tying it to.
You posted?
Like, what?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Shut it all down.
But that is like, again, like, where do we, because we're social and we're like getting cues about like what is happiness, if you're seeking it, if you're centered in it, it doesn't matter if you consume social or not, those messages aren't going to throw you. You just be like, oh yeah, that person's doing that. But if you're seeking happiness, the story is that like fighting time or taking advantage of time. Like, don't waste this opportunity. Like, you better hurry up and reach your potential before you miss it. Or you better not like do these things that, I guess, waste your life, right? Yeah. Those messages will keep you from being satisfied with sitting around a fire and sitting with your people or your friends, because you are not living up to like
this image that you're looking for. You will feel like the image of you that you want sitting at the fire is not there. And the reality is to take like I said, we're back to actions and behaviors that create a you that you are happy with.
Yeah, but I think truly part of the problem with
I can't say authentically anymore.
Growing old, right? And looking back and being like, I didn't rise to the potential. I didn't do the things that I wanted to do. Now I'm sitting at the fire going, I can't contribute because I didn't live a life. I didn't do the things.
Hang on. Maybe that is the lesson you are about to learn, and grow in your wisdom, and then you will have the wisdom to bring to the fire.
Yes, and that's what I'm saying is like, once you get to that point, you go, what? My time was my time, right? You can think of life as like a river that's flowing, and like time is just the pace at which the river flows. Nobody gets to change that. Everybody's in a rowboat.
Go fast enough.
You can paddle. You can fucking hard charge.
Technically, you go fast enough.
You can go fast enough, right?
Yeah, we did a book on this.
Yeah, but at some point, you can never, like, you can't paddle. Sure, working out and all that, you can try and paddle upstream and save a little bit of time. But guess what? At the end of the day, you're going over a fucking waterfall.
Yeah.
And that's what we're all heading.
Yep.
But being able to enjoy the float, is what we're all trying to do. And when you're too busy worrying about the pace of the river, like, you're never going to enjoy the time. You're thinking about, well, I got to paddle this way, or I got to do that, or I got to do this. And it's just like, hey, sit back and enjoy the fucking ride, because we're all going over that fucking waterfall, no matter what. I don't care what your mind is telling you of what happiness is or anything like that. We're all going to fucking die. And accepting that and being okay with just like, I don't have to try and like change who I am. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and it is. So that it's like, so why not? Why not be happy for the short amount of time you're here?
Exactly. Being yourself.
Yes.
And accepting the fact that this is it.
But that same problem, like, I think Christy hit a really good point about the time thing is, like, that is a unique thing towards human beings. And time puts a very heavy stamp on individuals when moments occur, whether it's a breakup, you were in 9/11, right? You have these things, and our ability to recall and reflect moments puts a very unique stamp in our head of that moment. And we associate emotions. And so when you were talking earlier about looking back on a life upon and like, well, what if I did this, or what if I could have done that? That ability that allows you to say the what ifs is that same thing that gives you the ability to create the abstract thoughts. That same ability is what
separates us from the fucking wolves.
Right? The ability to create a machine, to put yourself on the moon. But that ability is also the thing that makes or breaks people. That is the thing when you get rejected as an artist and you hate your parents, you become Hitler, right? That was his story. There are different pains that people go through that really either send them. And this is, I think, a unique thing to talk about happiness, because some of the most influential people in the world have had things happen to them. And it's either been like, I'm going to recover from this and kind of grow, or some people use the opposite of happiness to conquer and to take over. Like that cat.
Yeah, I mean, but that you're not wrong, right?
Yeah.
I think that there's
It's like a cat moment.
There's a cat on the table.
What's interesting, I think, is that like we can think of examples where very like tortured souls create beautiful things, and like that is one of the most human things that we have. Is even in this unhappy state, like we still have this beautiful ability if we choose, especially like if it's artistic or creative. Like think about tortured music and like all of those kind of things.
Yeah.
However, like, would you want to swap with them?
That's an ironic. Actually, hang on.
I don't
Sorry.
know.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm just thinking about the fact that you get tortured music like Nirvana, and think about the irony of the name of the band Nirvana versus their music.
yeah.
Yeah,
sorry.
but
Go
I
ahead,
mean,
Kristen.
what I'm saying is like, would you want to swap with Kurt Cobain, like, and
no.
be like a torture, you know?
Right. And how many 8th grade boys were idolizing him?
Right. Because we know inherently that dude wasn't happy. And but he created this music. Well, like when we have these moments of happiness, or just because we're humans, we can relate in some way. It's very powerful to us.
It's wild how much happiness he brought to the world, though.
Yeah.
But I think most of
Do you
art,
sacrifice yourself
do you think
to
it was
make other
happiness,
people?
or do you think it was kids who were feeling similar pain, or young adults who were feeling similar pain, feeling like,
Hell no.
someone understands me?
I don't know. I maybe
No,
would
because
have liked,
I remember being young and not knowing anything about the music, or like listening to the lyrics and just being like, "This is fucking good." Like, and it brought
hits
it,
chords
there's
and
something
emotion.
to it.
Yeah.
You're like, this is great.
I
like,
think it would have
but
been cool
that's-
had he figured his shit out and, you know, like
But art is
lived
created
to be a wise
through
old
pain.
man after creating that tortured art, you know, but
But
that wasn't the case.
But art
that's
is
never
pain.
the like
That's it's not the case.
Courtney Love killed him.
Right.
Exactly.
So it's like,
But
Yeah.
all good art, though,
Yeah.
is pain. Like, no real good art comes from someone that's like, everything is fucking awesome, blah, blah, blah. Most art, most songs break up. Party rock, all fucking sucks.
Nickelback.
Whoa, shut your mouth.
First of all,
What?
what is every good
Nickelback
song?
was great, and I'm sick of people talking shit about Nickelback.
I guess, I mean, it is one of those things is like, you know, inherently, like they've given us a gift of like expression of pain, of sorrow, of things we can relate to. And so we appreciate the music. We can like just experience that. But at the same time, we know like we don't want to swap. And so I was trying to think back to like, what if we like rewound like a couple thousand years ago around the fire, like who was the like tortured soul that's like singing the sad song that everybody gets to experience around the fire? And like, did they do it from a place of wisdom? Like, oh, I was that, and here I'm sharing this from you. Or are they like, peace out village.
No,
like I'm going
yes,
to the
you
woods.
nailed it. You nailed it. What art was, cave drawings, was hunting experiences. What is that? That is pain. We tried. We went over this valley. We didn't get it. We threw spears. You see broken spears in the drawn, right? But then we got one and we're carrying it back. Art is what you go through.
Trials and tribulations.
That is your evolutionary and biological evolutionary needs. You need to have ups and downs. You need to have triumph. Pain is what creates this art, through this ability to have these abstract thoughts. When we achieve things and have, right?
Jesus Christ.
So when we go through these things or we have suffering, that is where art comes. And when we overcome it together, it's celebration. When we die from it alone, it puts value on
Well,
it.
as you experience all the emotions of life, you add to your palette of colors, right? Like, or just like you get, if everything's just black and white and you're happy or you're sad and there's no in between, it's hard to paint a picture that's like really super interesting. But then as you like get these shades of gray and like tones throughout this painting, like that's when things turn fucking beautiful. But it takes nasty times and good times.
Yeah.
So when people are miserable all the time, like, don't think that they don't also know what it's like or long for what it was like when things were good. Like, they know what it was like, and they're tortured souls, and they might be down in the dumps, but they're still able to try and they're speaking from a place of like, this is what's going on with me. If they only knew nasty feelings,
Right.
there wouldn't be art.
I wonder too if, again, coming back to Georgia, but I think children and animals are a good thing to return to in nature when we're trying to sort this out, because they give us cues and
pure.
reminders.
Yeah.
But I think about Georgia when everybody was here a couple weeks ago for our friend's birthday, for Rachel's birthday, and Georgia's hamster died. Like, and she found out at the party.
We had a situation on there.
But if you think about this,
Code
like
red.
in its pure sense, you have this child who's happy, totally popping around, all of a sudden finds out something bad happened in her world. Sadness came in. Sadness came in. The hamster that she loved is gone. And so I thought what was like a beautiful about that, I hope she doesn't like pop up behind me because we'll get tears again.
That's exactly what's happening.
But what was
With her crown.
a part of maybe not, we all have to be happy all the time, was that she experienced the sadness of it. She felt love and support by the adults around her. She got to feel sorrow and then return to some level of happiness. So it's like what you were saying, Mike, about this like up and down of life, like that is going to happen. We're not supposed to be happy.
I think a child's
happy
more
all-
elastic.
Right, but what I'm saying is isn't that what we should always be doing? Like experiencing
You have to
things
feel the
and
sadness.
feeling the sadness and then returning to presence of like, okay,
But
like
that's
And
what I mean.
what
like
Christy's saying that's important there is that rather than tell her to, hey, it's okay, just you'll be fine. You don't need to cry. The message was, you can go ahead and cry because everybody's here, and you can feel that emotion all the way through to completion. And so many of us have been taught to, hey, it's not time to cry right now. You can deal with this later, but
Bottle
shove it
it
down
up.
right now. So you that emotion starts and you never actually complete it. So we're all running a bunch of like 1/8 complete marathons that have not been completed, and they're all stored inside our nervous system. We're all fucked up.
and for a 5-year-old, we were sad that night, and then the next day we took some time to be sad and buried the hamster outside and said some stuff, and she's still sad, and we
How
talked
deep?
about it. Deep enough, I guess.
a couple shovels.
Four shovelfuls.
But what we do is that, like Tobin's saying, is like we diminish, oh, you shouldn't be happy because it's just a hamster, or because we're at a party, or because you can get another one. Like,
Or it's not time to feel sad
we
right now.
diminish the feeling, so we never experience it, but then that teaches us to always do that. And so then we actually don't have a way to experience life's up and downs in any kind of human way. Instead, we
That flattened effect.
flatten
now.
it,
Yep.
and then it really is difficult to return to.
Well,
And hang on. One
But-
thing
but-
that popped into my head that I wanted to mention real quick is that I think the reason we all inherently know to protect children is that we understand they are still pure and they have not been affected by programming yet. And even though we are unaware of our own programs, we're aware of what it has done to adults. And we look at children and we go, oh man, we have to protect that for as long as we can, even though we realize they will become programmed at some point. to that point, I think that one of the reasons homeschooling is becoming so much more popular is parents are waking up to that, to realize that someone other than them is programming their kids, and it's not always in their best interest.
And that's where I've had many talks with people about homeschooling their kids and like what that looks like and like why you would want to. What's the point of having?
Isn't it weird how homeschooling is flipped? When I was a kid,
Yeah,
it was
those are
like
weirdos.
everyone I
Crazy
knew
nerd.
in homeschool was like
Weird
fucking
religious
a tote
fucking-
walker.
They were like Dungeons and
And
Dragons.
now it's like
Now it's the privileged kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
Oh, your parents are wealthy enough
Fucking
that you can be
horse girl.
homeschooled. But more importantly is the point that despite the fact we don't recognize our own programming, we recognize the innocence of the lack of programming.
But when we don't recognize our own, we do put it on children, even
Yeah.
if we're not
Yes.
doing it intentionally. We just go ahead and repeat the things that we've told ourselves to survive and put it on them.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, you don't have to be sad. It's going to be okay. Like, that just simple phrase is something that, like, I probably said to myself a million times, which is not great. If something is sad,
They're
then
in
be
a better
sad.
place.
Right. Well, just be sad. If something not great happened, then just sit with that for a minute and be sad. Let yourself feel it. And that one thing alone, I think, is a part of.
But that's what I mean. Like, as far as I think children are elastic in the sense of they can bounce back to happiness and centered of like, oh, I'm back in the moment.
It's
very, very quickly.
The reason for that is because they are unprogrammed relatively. They will feel they will go to their room and feel that emotion out.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you allow that to happen.
Yes. Yeah.
And
yeah, yeah.
you can sit with it and you can be it, and then you're back.
they
And
are
you're-
programmed, but you do want. Everyone needs a form of programming, like how to healthily deal with emotions and situations is what you want. You take a salmon, like a baby salmon egg, gets out of that egg, and it just knows what to do. There's no teaching, there's no showing. Say if times were super hard and you had a child,
Yeah, I think-
maybe you could have that child survive on its own by 10 years old. Caveman times, here's enough to teach you what you need to survive
How
and
to
get
start a
by.
fire and
Maybe you
kill
can
a
live to
woolly
25.
mammoth.
You know?
But I think biological needs are encoded into our DNA. Like how to survive biologically is probably encoded in our DNA. Whereas
Yeah.
we're talking about higher minded
No, but-
ideals here where we're getting it, like you said, the abstract.
Yeah.
Where we get into
But
the mind,
that's
not,
what
not the body.
But that's what I mean. A salmon knows exactly what to do. That uniqueness that makes a person, maybe it takes 10 years to get a person to survive on their own. But what you have to do to get that is you have to teach them those abstractness. You know you have sadness, but you don't know why it's okay to feel sad or why it's okay to get over something. You need someone to give you stories, to tell you.
I would say, how did you learn it was not okay?
No.
Because when you were born, you were not thinking that it was not okay to feel sad. Someone taught you
No.
somewhere along the line not to
Eventually,
feel it.
it's okay to recover from the situation. If I'm sad at this thing for happening for the rest of my life, biologically, I'm done. I'm not going to survive. I'm going to get eaten by the tiger because
Right,
I'm
but
over there
and
crying about my...
no emotion lasts
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Though.
Because why? You get over
That's
it. You
that's
learn
their
to
natural
accept.
state. No. It's not because of you. It's
No,
because
you
every
learn-
emotion has its natural end.
Yeah, you learn to accept, you process and get over something. So when you can have a
Hey,
parent...
we're
or
saying
s-
two different things.
Yeah, well,
You're-
that's
you're
what it's
saying-
all about, guys.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. In this corner, what you're saying is that getting over the emotion is something that the human mind does, and I'm saying that's incorrect. That's something that we are taught that is not true. The emotion itself has a lifetime that you cannot affect. You, the human being, you cannot affect it. Once it enters you, it must live out its lifetime before it leaves you.
So
Yeah, but
no
if
matter
that
what, hold on.
lifetime-
But with what you're saying that you can't control it
Correct.
at all. Okay, so
once it
why try
enters-
and work on it?
Not what
Why try and process it?
That's the point.
Because-
no,
oh,
Jordan,
don't.
the point of processing it is to let it live out its life.
But you processing it is you having control over it. You don't have control over it. You have to.
Hang on. Okay, you just hit a really important point. The most important thing is to surrender to it. and let it run.
Okay.
Because
So-
until you surrender to it and let it run, it cannot leave you.
Yeah.
So it's like anger, right? Like if you feel angry, you can fight it and say like, I don't feel angry.
you can
but
paddle
you still feel
against the
angry.
fucking current.
But you could choose to make choices in anger. You could say like, I'm going to choose something or not. But if you let it run,
yes.
I'm angry and I'm just going to take a minute and go be angry.
Yeah.
It should run out.
Yeah.
Or you can sit in that anger and choose it over and over again and extend it. You can extend it a whole lifetime.
You can paddle against the fucking current, or you can float down the river. And
But
that's what I'm trying.
Yes, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's getting over the
What
the
you're
issue.
saying is the same thing.
Yeah.
He's saying the same
It's
thing.
getting over it.
It's
You've
Georgia
let it happen.
Experiencing that and
Yeah.
sitting with it and being okay with it and seeing it, and it's not time to push it down. It's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that was really good for everybody that was standing around there when they saw that, because it was kind of
A microcosm for everybody.
it was an underlying thing of like, hey, like
This is
life.
Yeah.
yeah,
like,
life,
it's
life is
okay.
happening. Yeah.
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 And I just remember saying to her, like, everybody in this room has lost a pet that they love.
Yeah.
Everybody has.
Yeah, and that's
Everybody's
what
felt
guidance
sad.
is. That's
Yeah.
what getting over, what I consider getting over. You can have someone that says get over it by suck it up, and that's not how to do it. But to truly get someone over something is having the tribe. When you go through something tough and someone's like, I'm so sorry you're feeling this way. I had a similar situation. I felt like this. I feel free. Like, you're having people associate and give empathy. Right.
And that's where like you see people that don't do that, and it's like, oh, you're needing to work through some shit.
Yes.
You haven't gotten over your stuff.
What's
But
that?
It's easier to like sit down and like have a conversation with somebody when, whether or not they've gotten through what they're working on, like it shows a lot more if somebody's like willing to sit there and allow somebody to go through their emotions, or like sit with it, or like be willing to sit with them through it, versus suck it up. Like now's not the time. Like, and certainly there's times where you can't say you're in the middle of fucking war. It's not time to worry about,
for
what's
survival,
happening.
evolutionarily, I got to shoot my fucking gun.
Yeah.
When I get back, I'll have to start processing.
And that's, I think, where a
And this
lot
is
of
where-
people end up with PTSD is they don't know when to start to process that shit
Yeah.
again.
And it's-
And they don't allow that emotion to play all the way out.
Yes.
And that's where I imagine, like,
And you guys are both right on that. I was sitting here thinking about that too. Like, what if you're up in the mountains and a big storm is rolling in and your kids are like, I'm scared. And you're like, hey, we need to shut the fuck up and go break camp. Like, we need to go make camp right now. Like, it's not time to whine and cry. It's time to create shelter and stay warm.
yeah.
So there are times when you
let me show you how to process this.
Yeah.
Around the fucking
After
fire.
we
'cause
go
it's
to
about to
Down
get
and get
cold.
this sleeping bag with me.
But I think something that's very like for our culture in particular, had Georgia been a boy, it would have been as accepted for me to have brushed it off.
Yeah.
Because if I had said, and the thing is, it's true. It's not comfortable to say
bad
this, but it's
parenting,
true.
though.
Yeah.
But it's true.
I don't
But
think
it still
I don't
happens all the
think
time.
within this.
It's bad
I don't
parenting.
think within this group.
Right, but what I'm saying is all the time from a very early age, boys are in particular told to shut down their feelings. So when you get to a grown ass man and you're like, well, how do you feel about this? Sometimes it's nothing, blank stare. Why? Because they felt nothing since they were a kid because they were told not to feel those things.
I didn't grow up that way, so it's hard for me to. Like,
I see it all the time.
Yeah. I see.
Oh, it's
I'm sure I
certainly.
did
I'm
it to my
sure.
own boys.
I'm
rub,
sure.
rub
it's-
some dirt on it, kid. You'll be fine.
Right.
Well, there's a little bit of that.
There's some of that
right?
is necessary, but also,
Life's balance.
yeah.
You know.
I didn't experience that as a kid.
And that's great because I think
I got-
then you got to feel more.
Oh yeah.
But I just know, even just by the programming that you learn from just normal watch TV kind of life, or like growing up in America, boys are told to feel less pretty early.
Well, that's changing.
Let me tell you.
Oh my God. Hey, all right. That's a good note. Can we take a pee break?
Yeah,
absolutely.
All
Happiness.
right. Round two.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Jesus is happiness.
Yeah.
A lot of people do it.
A lot of people think it.
A lot of people find it.
It's true. That is all true.
That is.
In
Did you really
hang on,
find
hang on,
him
hang
as
on.
like the end of a rainbow?
Yeah. I mean,
He's sitting in a tavern downtown.
yeah. He's in Portland.
I do think people find community in
Yes.
that, and it is as
Well, hang on.
important as
Religion
anything
is an
else.
interesting one because some people find true happiness there, and other people go into a very dark place through religion. There may be no cultural entity that is more diverse.
Well, this is perfect because I wanted to set up what I truly think is happiness is I do think it's a mixture of hitting evolutionary and biological reward systems. If you can do that in a way that harmoniously works all of them, it's like, yes, there's reward systems of eating sugar, but you eat too much sugar and now your fitness goes down, now your sperm count goes down, so now you're not hitting the same like reward systems for having children, right? Like when you have a homeostasis of these things, I feel it gives you contentness and happiness in life. And where we have a unique perspective, I think, is to really mitigate those biological.
Quick question, because I just noticed. Are you wearing a matching sweatshirt and sweatpants?
Yeah, dude, I'm fashionable.
Okay.
Yeah, dude.
I'm just checking.
You didn't
Go ahead.
you-
My biological needs
My
are
bad.
being hit.
It's that 5248, a little sugar in the tank over
This
there.
is
All
called
right.
a reward system.
He made you feel something. You know that. You know? So, that's a gift that keeps on giving right there, dude.
Dude, it's podcast lounge.
Yeah. All right. Good. So, my bad.
You're good. But when you hit all those, it does well, right? But you can get attitude.
Reebok, huh?
And it dude. First UFC contract.
He's a fighter, dude.
Yeah.
That's aerodynamic.
Dude, what are you wearing? Flannel?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a Pacific Northwest sweatsuit, dude.
3-1 in this round table.
Yeah.
Hey, that's okay, though.
Nice Lake Stevens tuxedo, y'all.
He did get us pretty good at that. Yeah.
But so when you hit all those, you're
Do you authentically like
that's how you get. I do. See, but this is me being true.
Right.
Like,
Yes, we
right?
know. Oh, we
I am
know.
happy,
I wanted an
and I'll
Adidas
probably wear
tracksuit
more.
so bad.
Really?
Oh, I just want to run an
Oh,
Adidas
man.
tracksuit
All right.
and just mean it.
You should
Like
do it.
I want to mean it, and I don't want to do it for laughs.
Hang on.
You know?
No.
But I know-
I'll buy you a nice one if you will wear it to work.
to work.
Yeah.
Oh shit. Like of
Under
course.
your tool belt, yellow vest over the top.
Oh, without question.
that's
Are you
happening.
kidding
I
me?
have a pair of Adidas tracksuit pants that I've kept from 10th grade that I still wear, and
Yeah.
Logan stole them.
Why would you get rid of them?
I
Did
love
you
them.
have the matching sweatshirt? Like the top?
I didn't, but I have had a tracksuit that has both.
I've stood in front of a tracksuit 3 or 4 times in my life. It's
time.
just gone. Pull the trigger, bitch.
It's time.
And I
Why
just,
am I white?
Yeah, I'm like, man,
Which is
they're gonna think I'm
Italian.
Russian.
Oh my god.
Maybe that's a good, like, such a
Just fucking the
good
tile guys will be
reminder.
coming up to you at work and trying to.
the tracksuit. It's
Cigarettes
like
break.
wear the tracksuit. That's
just wear it, dude.
the happiness reminder in like that tracksuit story is that you've missed those opportunities
Yes.
because you didn't trust yourself. You should have just trusted yourself and bought the
Hang it.
tracksuit.
Yeah. And you know what? Let's take it back to Georgia because she'll walk in here at any given moment dressed as a princess or as Woody the cowboy or whatever she happens to feel like being in that moment. And that's that lack of programming and that innocence that we all recognize.
No, 100%.
Good job, Mike.
100%.
But that's
Embracing your inner 5-year-old.
you're hitting reward systems. You
Nailed
are
it, bro.
comfortable enough to know what you do and you don't like. That's why, as a kid, the cliche was like your dad wearing sandals with his dress socks and shit like that. But it's
what
like,
he wanted to do.
Yeah. But that's what that is a little bit of being comfortable in who you are. And so I think people are unique.
Yeah, it's a
and
man
they
who's given
can-
up
Yeah.
on programming.
I think, Mike, you are a unique person, though, because once anybody gets to know you for even a short period of time, that is what many people would say about you, is that you actually don't seem to give a fuck about what people think, and it comes
look
through.
For a short time.
And it comes through via a sense of happiness and like, this is who I am and what I'm about. And like, it's a calm sense that makes you likable, but it's not like, oh, I'm trying to get people to like me. It's just,
I'm doing me.
You're doing you.
You're passing by. Yeah. If you like this,
great.
Drink it in.
If not, it's cool. And I think that is one of it is not actually happiness. It is a sign of happiness, is that you are like comfortable with the fact that some people may not like you or your flavor. And you're cool with that.
Of course. But that's life. But I got Mike, younger Mike, emo Mike. No. I got, everyone has the worst thing that can ever happen to you. And I went through a breakup like in my early 1920s, not in the 1920s. But yeah.
How old are you?
Yeah.
I'm a vampire.
He's fucking timeless.
Yeah, Daywalker. Yeah. But I had a bad breakup. And I was lucky enough to have people in my circle that sent me on a good trajectory. But also what I allowed what I like to do dictate life a lot, And so I was able to go through the pain, but have a rebirth process. I went nuts in different religions, from, go read the Bible to the Torah to the Bhagavad Gita to, just learning Buddhism to, and taking philosophy, taking all these different tools, have people that were into spirituality, meditation, not medication,
or a little
mindfulness, but as I did all that stuff at a young age and doing MMA and starting to learn just what benefited me in life and made me a more powerful person to everyone around me was being in a solid mental state and being capable just around people, right? For whatever the situation is. I am not an asset to anyone around me. Like if I'm over in the corner crying or have no backbone or no morals or no incentive to help my group or others, right? I started to learn, I was lucky enough to think what I learned was what is happiness to me is what provides me the most smile on my face. And what does that is through pursuing the things I enjoy and having other people want me, but not want me in the sense of like, what's that hunter? He's a hunter. We should celebrate him. No, you need to be enjoyed and celebrated because you're doing something. You're hunting and you're feeding other people. That is a commendable act. Life is about living these higher achievements, right?
Yeah. But like you said, that came from a dark night.
Yes.
So
everyone has to have that dark, rainy night.
Because
Batman isn't made without his parents getting killed.
Yeah. I think
I'm Batman.
The choices are like most of the happiest people have some sort of dark night of the soul.
Yeah, you have
to look back on, because then they're like, they've made different choices.
Yeah.
I think, now this is just based off of what I've learned, is we get presented with these times a few times in our lifetime, and then we can either choose, like you chose dark night of your soul was this breakup, and you went into exploration. Who am I? What do I need? Let me look into these different religions. Let me see who I am. And then you found it, and then have done your best to live life in accordance with that. I would say also had a dark night of my soul in my early 20s, and instead of that, it wasn't like I consciously chose, let me just find some more programs. I instead had that moment where it was like, literally start over, like go a different route. And it was feeling so free, even though it was so dark. But instead, I decided to just rebuild inside of the matrix programs I already knew. They were more comfortable to me than going down the path of this like exploration of self. And instead I chose, these are the things I know, and these are the things that should lead to it all being better, and I'm just going to go that way.
Yeah. I also think that at the time that you and I were in our early 20s, like the early 2000s, not a lot of people were telling us to look for our authentic self. Because that same situation as you guys were, a dark period in my early 20s, and then rather than find authenticity, I just, like Christy described, disappeared back into trying to refine the programs and make them even better. Mm-hmm. And really only this time, it was just lucky that Tyler happened to literally come along and be like, hey, we're friends now. Like, he didn't give me a choice. And then now we're hanging out, and he was one of, and then I had another friend named Jason at work who, between the two of them, were sort of the first people to open my eyes that there's another way.
Yeah. Well, and that's like the beautiful thing of like Taoism or Taoism, like the idea of a lot of Eastern philosophies, and like I came across it through the Art of War, and they would speak of the way a lot, right? And there's a million different roads, but there's always one Chicago, right? And if you want to get to Chicago, you might go a direct straight line there, and someone else will go take tons of lefts and rights. But the way is always presented throughout life, and that's why a lot of like Chinese in like Kung Fu's Chinese, right? But it's very flowy and artsy and wank, because you're learning to manipulate. And something about that it rang true in early years, that it's like, yeah, that either this is a way that, like, what's it called? If God has a plan, or if you like free will or predestination, but maybe the two can both interact. God's laid out all these paths, and it's up to you to choose
you get
the
a little
way.
Free will in between,
right?
Yeah.
You're picking those paths. And so it's like, it doesn't matter to me if it's like you've had these opportunities in the beginning and you fucked up. What matters is we're both in fucking Chicago.
Yeah,
I mean, who
we're
wants
going
to go
to
to Chicago? I don't know. I don't know why I said Chicago, but
Yeah.
And sometimes
Deep
there's
dish, baby.
lessons, like you said, and who knows if it's like predestined or if it's karmic or whatever. But for me, I can look back and say that choice maybe was because I had more lessons to learn and more things that had to happen. I mean, I think one of those things are my children. Like, I look at that season of like going down that road. It's not like there wasn't any happiness. There certainly was, but I would say that I was not in touch or regularly checking in with any version of my authentic self because I didn't know who I was. And so although like I had happiness, I had things that felt good, and I was certainly doing good things, I was missing that piece. It really wasn't until recently that I even would understand that I was missing anything at all.
But you're never going to understand the happiness of those evolutionary reward systems if your biological reward systems are blocking it, right? Like you're saying, working on your mind and figuring out how acceptance and processing.
I think you're thinking of it too much like a robotics question. And
No,
Christy's
it's just
thinking
a
of it as a
symbiotic.
humanity.
It's symbiotic. They have to play. These are two different systems. There is something that separates human. Us and animals all have evolutionary function. What separates us is this weird ability for abstract thought, right? And that's what can create demons, or the ability to gas tons of Jews and kill,
It's imagination of something that may or may not exist.
abstract thought in that communication. That's what leads us to all these unique, or these roads, or these, I think you said it beautifully, was these time and stamping time and what an event can have on us. We associate emotion.
What if that is the reality of us? In the Bible it says that we are all God, right?
Yeah,
and
I
so
think
we are creators, because the reality we create is based on how we perceive it.
Yes.
So an animal
yes.
maybe an animal does not have the ability to create reality with its perception, but we do. We get to create how the world is interacting with us through our perception of that.
And that was something I've gone on the journey too. I think I've gone down my religious and spirituality journey, but I think what the most empowering thing anyone can do is develop your own religion. You have to have your own understanding of what God is and what your reality in this existence is. And I think that's one of those things that you have to have a holistic. It's not just about the fitness, or it's not about just being the Jesus freak. You need to see how it all works together.
Yeah.
And I think developing a system of what you think is power structure in this world is one of the most important things you can do.
What is your interpretation or description of what is God or source, or however you want to describe it?
I think it's got to be either two things, and I've thought about this a lot. One, it has to be either one, you have a creator, right? It's either just like a programmer writes a program for your computer to go, or God's up there and he writes this way, right? Maybe we do have a little bit of free will in that. And so we can dictate, but there's just a programmer and that's out there. My other option is just consciousness existence. I think life is so much about randomness. Random is the creation of existence, the creation of time. Just random. The ability for things to come from nothing to something. The ability to say it's just the Big Bang happens and it's hot plasma gases. But eventually they cool and you get collection, and randomly it turns into hydrogen. But we can show you the math. Right? All the math adds up, and then we get hydrogen clouds, and then we get stars, and those explode, and we start to develop, right? Everything's about randomness. So as consciousness, if existence and randomness and consciousness can exist, I think that's where we're driving further into consciousness. If hydrogen was all that existed, we had the consciousness of hydrogen. But as more elements and things develop and you get chain block structures, right? You can start to have things like aminos and biological life and creation of molecules, right? As that continues, consciousness grows stronger, awareness grows stronger. Just like the internet started off infantile, it's going to be stronger with the more of the past it has. I think that's what evolution is. What you're doing, epigenetics, is going back to it's pulling from the pool of all the past. And now I can mutate within what my past has allowed me to do. I think that's a form of consciousness. Maybe God is
collective consciousness.
Yes. So maybe God's how to play, or it's just the randomness of consciousness. I can't delineate the two, but I think those are my only options at this point.
Okay.
Allah Akbar.
Same.
Oh my God.
Same question.
I am super at peace with not knowing, to be honest. Like, it almost feels like, because I grew up in a lot of religious stuff and that was just my default setting, I am okay not knowing. Okay. And I think the thing is that we can trust our intuition.
Is there something that you suspect? Like, it doesn't have to, like, no idea has to be perfect. Mine are ever changing.
I guess what I'm saying is I think we as humans intuitively, not that we know that there's a God, but we almost behave accordingly. Like, humans, without being told, will look to the stars and talk. Or
we have a Geppetto.
Right. So we have this sense of something that is greater than us. And I think that is part of my truth, that I know that is true. And so just that gives me a sense of calm. And I would like to just make the assumption that is like at least neutral, if not benevolent, then it would be neutral, in that, like, so much of life feels like a gift, that I feel like, and there's so much beauty, there's so many things like this. That feels godlike to me. When we are in the present and you're like, oh, this is what this is. Like, this is what life is. And then where did that come from? Then when I try to answer that question, it makes me think that there's a God. Okay. But I don't know. And I don't know if I, right now, even want to know. I just feel
it's more fun sometimes being on the plane and just riding along than being the captain flying and having to deal with all the bullshit.
Yeah, and I'm not saying it's wrong.
And not saying
wonder.
ignorance is bliss,
No.
but part of life is that adventure. You can be the Buddhist monk philosophizing in a temple, but you know what? You didn't bang any chicks. You didn't eat any Korean barbecue, and you didn't experience life.
Part of this season that's been so startling for me, and I think it's weird to say this season, but it's true, is this has been the calmest I've ever felt around all of these things, where I'm like, oh, do I need to know exactly how I'm going to make money next year or the year after? Like, that has been something I have focused on for a decade. How am I going to grow my business? How am I going to like provide for my team? How am I going to do all this? And this is the first time where I'm like, like I have what I have right now, and that's good, but I don't have to answer this question right now. And I don't think that that's going to be forever the case. Like, I think this is a sense of stillness that I've been gifted right now to just really get familiar with like what peace and happiness and love and contentment feels like, so that when the seasons come back of like, oh, we need to be more forward focused or something or you maybe what is the puzzle around God or what is this, then I couldn't remember what this stillness feels like, where I don't feel the urgency to need to know.
Well, and this is a unique thing with having small business owners and business owners that have had businesses for a little bit is, you will have months where you're like, I'm set. I'm about to live on a yacht with Conor McGregor. And then the next month you're like, we're eating canned beans for the next, Yep. Small business ownership is ups and downs, and you can fight and struggle and freak out about it. But when you have to accept that sometimes it's down and sometimes it's up, and there's things you can do to help try and progress it, but there's always going to be an ebb and flow. And just as simple as something as business, I think there's a lot of correlation to life and those experiences and those happiness. Having a happy, successful business isn't like, oh, when it's great, it's great, and when it sucks, it sucks. It's like, no, this is the ebb and flow. This is what I asked for, and now I'm getting what I'm getting. It is my pursuit to understand this and become happy and try and navigate it, and even know it might be fruitful, but it might not. It might fail. And maybe I'll start another business and that fails, but maybe down the road I can start a successful one. I think it's that path. Once again, you're learning with Chicago. Fuck Chicago. But Chicago's over there, and we're learning, there's similarities at least. And I think it is a tool for navigating life and understanding. Acceptance is a huge thing. And when you can see similarities, I think it helps you transcend different situations or moments. And business and life money is associated with happiness. Just like we're saying, can you be happy in a concentration camp? Can you be happy with no money? Not saying we're bushcrafting it, which will be fine.
No, you can't. Because and this is a funny. I'm literally reading about this morning, which is that we have such weird emotions around money and being taught that money is icky or good or whatever it is. But the reality is, no, you can't buy happiness, but money is required for happiness.
It's a resource.
Yeah, it's a resource that gives you
modern
time.
food.
Which is why prisoners can be happy, because they're sheltered and they don't have to pay for it.
Yeah.
That has already been provided.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So Jordan, same question. What is your interpretation of God or source, or however you want to describe it?
I'm in the same boat as Christy. I talk to somebody all the time.
Okay.
And I feel when I am like at peace, I'm constantly like, I'm thankful, right? When we're hunting, when we're out in the woods, especially, right?
Yep.
That's where things slow down. That's where like life feels right. That's where, we've talked about that a lot, but that's where I find myself just being like present and thankful and, just talking to somebody, like, and I'm not talking out loud, right? I'm just thinking and being like, and I'm just going, like, I'm really thankful for the moment, and because I know what it's like to.
So it's almost like you experience gratitude when you're out there.
Like, 100%.
You don't just think gratitude; you experience.
I am in like in a not timeless moment, but I'm not thinking about any of it. It's
Present.
it's there. Whereas, I'll go to work and I'll go the day-to-day grind, and it's like, oh, a month's passed. Oh, it's Friday already. Oh, the New Year's already happened. Like, holy shit, it's, February.
It's 2025.
Yeah. So
where's my Jetsons?
But when we spend time in simplistic stuff, that's where that's where I'm talking to somebody, and that's my God. I don't know, who that is necessarily. I don't get enough time with him or her or whatever it is, right? But I'm assuming that's who I'm talking to, and I'm grateful for the people I also oftentimes, and this is, I don't know, I talk to people that are past that I don't get to see or talk to anymore, and I think about people that are present in my life, but I oftentimes are like, I think about the people that I don't get to connect with in this world anymore, and just find myself thankful for the time that I had with them, and like reflect on the lessons and the words that they've spoke to me. And I don't know. I don't know what that is. I don't know who that is, but I think that's the closest I come on a I'd say regular basis.
You made me think of a couple things just from church growing up, but I think these things feel true, which is that sometimes God feels far away. Like you feel far from God. And a lot of the stories in the Bible are about feeling distance from God. And then other times you hear the phrase like God is with us. Mm-hmm. You can feel that. Or like sometimes there's almost an expression of God being in you or through you, spirit, God, whatever. And I think when I heard you talking, that's what it reminded me of. It's like this conversation is almost with. It's comforting. Mm-hmm. But through you is the kind of expression of like once you are in your truest self or you're able to just be present in the moment, it's like it collides. We become one, which is again like a very religious thought, but that's what I think it means is like, so it's like when we tie it back to the happiness question, and I want to hear yours. You didn't say yours,
no,
did you?
Not yet.
But
not
so
yet.
I don't want to. I want to hear yours. But what I was thinking about when we were tying it back to the happiness question is like, it's like there's nowhere else I need to be except right here, right now. Oh. That feels like happiness, regardless of the life situation. So it's like imagine you're with someone and they're in grief and they've just lost someone, but you are able to be there for them truly, and they're able to receive that comfort and support. There's nowhere else you want to be right now except in that spot. That is an expression of God, I think, in human form, where we're able to sort of like embody that presence. Mm-hmm. And it may not be because everything's sunshine and rainbows, but there's nowhere else you want to be. And like that also could be sitting around a fire with your favorite people laughing, and you're like, there's nowhere else I would rather be than right here, right now. Mm-hmm. Or it could be in creation. It could be like, oh, I just built this thing. There's nowhere else I'd rather be right now than like building this thing. And you're this expression of like spirit or God. So I just wanted to, you made me think of that.
No, that's
yeah. Well, okay. And then Christy made me think that sorrow is an expression of love. And we've been taught to sort of be afraid of sadness and sorrow. And the reality is you can't be sad or sorry about something you don't love. So it's sadness and happiness are the yin and the yang of love.
Yeah.
And so
it's all love.
Yeah.
What's yours? Let's hear it.
Okay. So ever changing for sure. But I do think, I think there's a higher consciousness, whether you want to call it God or it's all the same thing. It's God, it's source, it's Yahweh, it's all one fucking thing. And I think we each are like a little tentacle of that. Like a little, we each are little feelers sent out to experience this reality that higher consciousness has created. And it's sort of like, like Mike, you said, like a video game programmer almost, where yes, we are experiencing an illusion, but someone else can write program into the illusion, and then we can experience it. Like
our character can walk through.
Exactly. Our avatar can walk through something somebody else wrote into the program. And I think that, I don't know. It's a undeveloped, but also constantly developing idea. And I really like all of the parallels between religion and physical science, where you have like quantum physics showing you that everything is actually made of light. Like that's not just religion telling us the world and reality is made of light. Quantum physics now say, hey, everything you think of as solid, that's all made of. Oh shit!
Good job.
Yeah,
including yeah. Hey,
cops are here,
including the dogs. The dogs and the table that I just beat on are all made of light particles. And so it's all just a hologram, which in the end means we live in a holographic universe. And we all get a little piece of consciousness to experience it.
But that's what I mean. See, I've always said my favorite thing's mental masturbation, and we can call life all these different things. It's a two-part answer. Evolutionary,
and the physical.
He's thinking hard while he's rubbing that shit out.
Pythagorean theorem,
brain buster.
But. That's horrible.
That's right. Yeah.
But we can get all.
Hand me that Sudoku book.
But like you said, we can get all lost in what we consider this, or like this is a manifestation, or it can be in existence through this. But at the end of the day, the things that truly make me happy are the things that make me happy. I can have shallow relationships and they don't make me happy. A deep trying relationship gives me more reward.
Yes.
I could rob a bank, maybe I'm not happy, but maybe I can have a career and have coworkers and become very good at a trait and start to develop that even further and innovate others and carry it on or pass it along. These are things that our ancestors have been doing forever. Whether now it's aerospace, but back in the day it was pottery. Or let me teach you calligraphy. Or let me teach you preserving. We can get all abstract, but the things that I think focus us and center us on a baseline arrow are the best things. That's why things like hunting, jujitsu, sitting around a campfire, honesty, right? Mitigating, sitting in moments and understanding how I feel. The more I can just be that person.
Yeah. Managing emotion, and I think allowing that to, like, dealing with all the emotions that you get in this world.
Being a person.
Yeah. And becoming your authentic self, understanding who that is, and allowing yourself to share it with others and feeling acceptance and love is happiness to me.
Also read, understand, read poetry, read philosophy,
Art.
read science,
Look
read
at
art,
things.
read religion, read things you don't like, read things you do like.
It's tough for the
Life
dyslexics.
is about living.
Yeah. I think that might be the note to end it on, Mike Kozak.
Life's about living. Life is for the living.
Yeah. Sucks to be dead.